Formula 1 testing is here. All the teams have dropped their pants and can no longer hide their newly designed 2024 cars, and I couldn't have been more excited. In classic testing fashion, we saw some failures and some good shifts put in by different teams, so let's get into it. In first place, of course, everybody expected this. It's Verstappen in the Red Bull, posting a 1 minute 32.548 and 66 laps. It's a good shift from him. It's looking like a repeat of 2023 already, an all too familiar leader of the pack. And although testing times are taken with a grain of salt, Red Bull certainly would be happy seeing Verstappen topping the times. Again, it looked a little shaky early, but the double sidepod inlet looks like it's working for the Milton Keynes outfit. The blanking panel on the front nose is still there, however, expect this to be removed through testing, or even further, only uncovered at the first race of the season. We saw a new design element that's separate from the sidepods. The two cooling inlets just behind the driver's heads are feeding into those big cannons on the side of the engine cover. Those cannons also have some louvers that let out some of that air about halfway down. This car is just full of new surprises. Adrian Newey and the rest of the Red Bull team have put an absolute shift in with this new car, and it looks like it's paying off so far. In second, we have Ferrari and Leclerc with a 1 minute 33.2, 64 laps. It's a decent shift from Leclerc. He had a couple lockups, but a decent amount of laps, and he showed some pace too. However, they are still suffering from that bouncing issue. They haven't fixed their ride height instability problems. Apart from that, it was a smooth session for Ferrari. Interesting looking aero rake. They were testing the winglets on the side of their halo, and they look like the only team running an aero rake specifically fit to a certain area of the car, very unique from them. An interesting session from the Ferrari outfit, and I'm sure Lewis Hamilton has one eye on their progress as well. In third, of course, it's Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin, a 1 minute 33.3, 77 laps. What a shift, the most of the day. Typical from Alonso, who always puts in an absolute mile of effort when it comes to testing. Their driver cooling system seems to most closely resemble the F-Duct from the old McLarens, which I think is pretty cool, no pun intended with that one. A good session for Aston Martin. Following him, we have Piastri and McLaren with a 1 minute 33.6, 57 laps. Heading into Piastri's second season in F1, he'll be happy to have put some laps in the bank in his pursuit of Lando Norris. It was a bit of a letdown with the secrecy through the launch season from McLaren, which honestly is expected from them, hiding their components, which really turn out to be not innovative at all, and downplaying their expectations is a typical launch from the Papaya team. Pretty uneventful day for them, nothing too special and nothing too terrible either. The only negative was a little loose object in their rear brake duct, but nothing session ending for that team. In fifth position, we have Yuki Tsunoda for RB, the newly named. I think we've decided on RB rather than VCARB, which I think is a good choice. A 1 minute 34.1 from him, 64 laps. The RB that was touted to be a mini RB19 looks like it's actually quite a unique package. Obviously some design cues from the Big Brother team. Both Yuki and Daniel will be happy with this session. A decent amount of laps and some long runs in there as well. There was a lot of chat from the pundits about the Toro Rosso-esque livery, which I think is one of, if not the best looking, of the entire paddock. We'll see Daniel hop in the car for the night session and hopefully see another smooth testing session for the newly rebranded outfit. The first driver out of the top 5 was George Russell in the Mercedes with a 1 minute 24.2. 48 laps though. Not many laps for the Briton in his first session of the 3. He will be in the car again for the night session. Unfortunately for the Lewis Hamilton fans, you guys will have to wait another day to see Lewis drive the last Mercedes of his career. The car looks a lot more stable than we've seen in last year's from the Mercedes team, which is a positive. However, not many laps clocked for George Russell, the second lowest bar Albon, who had an engine failure. The car is looking interesting, and although it's not setting the timesheets alight, I think Mercedes will be quietly satisfied with their session. We got a good look at their innovative new front wing. A positive session for the Mercedes team. In 7th, we have Valtteri Bottas for Stake. I'm going to call them Sauber, I think I like it better. 1 minute 34.4, 68 laps. A lot of laps posted for our Finnish Australian calendar model, driving one of the best looking cars on the grid, and I think that he and the team will be happy with their performance. Although they don't seem too blazingly fast, the amount of data they would have gathered would have been a big positive for the team. Not much else to say apart from that. In 8th place, we have Alex Albon in the Williams, a 1 minute 34.5, 40 laps. A rough session for the Williams driver. Lockups, understeer, smoky brakes, and an engine failure. Not the way Albon nor James Vowles and the rest of the Williams team would have wanted to start their year. It looks pretty uncomfortable. Lots of lockups and running wide through turn 10 repeatedly. They also had DRS issues that hampered their session. Also reports of the Williams sounding a bit poorly as it rumbled through the pit lane. This eventually, of course, manifested itself into an engine failure. Albon's car losing drive halfway down the pit straight. He pulled off the racing line and we had the only yellow flag of the session. And it was a forgettable session for the Williams team. And we have Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. 1 minute 34.6, 60 laps. The livery looks just as bad, if not worse than it did in the renders, and the front nose looks old Formula 2-esque. Wide and flat. With his big snap oversteer finding him in the gravel, Ocon would have wanted a bit of a smoother session, but a decent amount of data collected and the car is still in one piece. Not much to say about the liveryless team. And in last place, rounding out testing, we have Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. Way off the pace with a 1 minute 35.692. He did post 66 laps, but the slowest looking car on the grid seems to be setting the expectations that were set by the team. The car is not quite looking stable, both understeering corner entry and oversteer when getting on the power on corner exit. As well as repeated lockups, the Haas just doesn't look quite there. Not surprising, given they've almost resigned to the final row of the grid for the beginning of the season. Now, onto some general observations of the testing session. The F-Duct is back. After the damn near torturous conditions the drivers faced in the Qatar Grand Prix last year, there is now an F-Duct-like cooling solution, if you remember that F-Duct from the old McLarens, I think it was 2012, correct me if I'm wrong, to get more air into the drivers. Of course, on the McLaren, it was to stall the rear wing, a bit of DRS technology before DRS was really a thing. Now the teams are running different combinations of the nose inlet holes and the F-Duct cooling to cool the drivers. It's not aero related. Some teams are opting for the F-Duct only, others just the nose, and others not at all. It's definitely interesting and a bit nostalgic to see that feature back on an F1 car though. My second observation is the split in front nose design. There's the wide nose and the round conical looking nose. There is a notable difference in philosophy when it comes to nose design on the grid. The Alpines, Ferrari and some others are going for a flatter and wider nose design, and some others like Stake, Mercedes and RB are going for a rounder, skinnier nose cone-like design. Teams like Red Bull are right in the middle. It'll be interesting to see the development of this area over the season, especially given Mercedes' front wing innovations. It'll soon become clear who's picked the right direction in one of the most sensitive areas on the car. That about wraps up my testing recap. Let me know what you found interesting and noteworthy. I'm sure I've missed some things that you guys picked up. I just wanted to say thank you for the views on my last video, almost at 10,000 views, and I'm honestly shocked that so many people want to hear what I have to say. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you can hear me waffle some more about the sport that I and you guys love as well. I'll see you guys for testing session 2 later on.
Sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it.